if you don't know what sales process means, that means there's a gap in knowledge in terms of what that is. I didn't know, to be honest, in the beginning, what the hell a sales process was. A lot of coaches think they need a lot of skill sets in marketing. The main type of marketing you need is putting yourself out there. How much do I offer? And you hear all sorts of weird things. Well, you shouldn't offer less than $300 per session, or $200 per session, or $50 per session. Random numbers that people throw out. Well, it needs to depend on a couple of things. It needs to depend on your skill sets, experience, a bunch of stuff. There are ways to work around that. A lot of coaches try to shortcut their path, and then they fall into these kind of marketing messages that tell them, oh, within 90 days, you're going to make six figures. Once again, you're listening to the Coach's Journey podcast. I'm one of your hosts. The other two are not here this week, so I'm going to be doing this podcast solo, but it's going to be very valuable for you. If you are a newer coach within the first couple of years of what you're doing, or you are struggling to get the first few clients that you want, or you're struggling to create a consistent stream of clients, this podcast episode is for you. I'm going to work through, I believe, 5 areas, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 key things to think about for you to understand how to get your first few clients, and for you to also consider refining how you can get consistent clients as you move forward. And again, this is for life coaches, mindset coaches, transformational coaches, high performance coaches, anybody around the mindset area. This is for you. If you're a coach who does some other kind of coaching or mentoring, but also has life coaching or mindset coaching as a part of it. For example, you could be a fitness trainer who has life coaching as a part of what you do. This also applies to you. So continue to listen on. This might not apply to you if you are a mentor of some kind of technical thing that you're teaching or coaching people through, like real estate coaching or business coaching or something like that. Unless you have life coaching as a part of that, pieces of it might apply. All right, let's jump in. First of all, I want to share a quick story. Quick story being, I started about a decade ago on this path to building a coaching business. I got certified as a high performance coach. Now, here are some of the challenges with that. I did not know, I had never run a business before. I did not have a huge sales background. I had some experience here and there, but for the most part, I was sales illiterate. The reason why I jumped into the coaching path, because I felt like this was a huge part of my journey. And as I started, I was on a discovery process myself. I felt like this was also a part of my purpose, a calling. I felt like it towards it. My heart was in it. And that's pretty much how I started with it. I wanted to grow as a coach, as a human being, as a leader. I wanted to serve others in the process. So if I could build a business or some kind of system where I got consistent revenue out of it, this is win-win for me, because it would get me on a continuous learning journey about myself, and I also get to serve others, which will also help me grow as a human being, as a leader, as a coach. So great motive behind it. Here's the challenge. I did not understand business. I did not understand offers. I did not understand sales. I just knew that I wanted to help people. And if you're a coach listening to this, more than likely you've kind of jumped into this for that specific purpose. I'll add a couple other things. Of course, I wanted to build a life of freedom as well. I also saw this as a path to creating that, which to me meant 2 types of freedom. One was the internal freedom, is the freedom of being at peace, feeling connected in my life, being engaged in my life, so doing things that matter to me. One part of that would be being on a learning journey and building a business that aligns with me. And the second part of it was external freedom, the having the time and location freedom to do what I wanted to do with my family, with those around me, which I get to do now after a number of years. So those were the reasons, and many coaches I know that those are the general reasons, and there might be other reasons for you. And if you do have other reasons for being a coach, please post that below. I'd love to hear that as well. And if you have the same reasons as what I've described, please share that below as well. Just put a thumbs up or say, yes, that's me. So let's go into the 5 things to think about for you to get your first few clients. So going back to my story, for me to start getting clients, I had to begin to understand how offers work, how sales process works, and all those kind of things. and I'll kind of keep embedding my story within it so you remember it a little better, and will help you understand how I've helped other coaches on their path, how we've helped coaches on their path within Coaching Mastery community. And for those who have been listening to this podcast for a while, this podcast is sponsored by Coaching Mastery Community, which is a community of incredible coaches who are working hard to build their skill sets as a coach, to master their craft. Also their skill sets in business, whether those be around sales, finance, marketing, all those kind of things, but specifically for them to get build a system to get consistent set of clients. We have lots of things within our community, but we essentially have a community of coaches where we're trying to support them to build coaching mastery and business mastery within a supportive community. If you're interested in learning more about that, go to coachingmasterycommunity.com, or the link that is below. You should be able to find out more about us. If you're listening to this live in our Facebook group, you can also go to coachingmasterycommunity.com, but I encourage you to book a call with one of the leadership team members if you're interested in seeing how we could support you further, because we do have a paid offer even though you're part of the free Facebook group. And for those who are listening on YouTube, you should find the link to join our free Facebook group where we add a lot of value there as well. All right, let's go into the first one. The first one is what are these 5 factors that determine how fast you get clients? How long does it take you to get clients? The first one, first of all, a lot of the programs that you go into, these are like marketing programs or business programs. They have all kinds of claims around, hey, if you jump into our program, within 90 days, you're going to make 6 figures. Within whatever many days, you're going to make this much. The reason why it's hard to make a claim like that, and what I think that's sort of on the borderline unethical side, is because they know nothing about your experience, background, even though they might have a really good process, but they can't claim that you will get clients within however the timeline is, unless they've given it a huge buffer. But a lot of times, for marketing purposes, so it looks great, it looks like an amazing opportunity, a lot of coaches have tried this for a long time, they will make a pretty wild claim and it will look very attractive to you, and that's on the marketing side. But to me, that's more like an unethical marketing claim. Why? And by the way, a lot of this stuff is being cracked down on by authorities on the site. On the US side, at least I know for sure, a lot of people are getting sued for making all sorts of weird claims around, hey, I can get you this many clients. The reason why they can't make that claim, because they know nothing about your skill sets as a coach, your offering, your experience in sales. They know nothing about your process. They know nothing about your network, all sorts of things that they need to know before they even make a claim like that. Now, more often than not, when you get into their program, you find out that it's more complicated than not. So it kind of is sort of a phishing scheme for a lot of these marketing organizations or these programs to get you in. And then when you get in, you find out a bunch of stuff. You're like, holy shit, this is harder than it looks. So how do we operate differently? We don't make those kind of claims. We do say that we do have for example, a 90-day challenge program that we take you through a 90-day challenge process within our community that helps you develop the skill sets, no matter where you are, that helps you develop the skill sets you need to move forward. So again, circling back to what are those 5 factors you need to be aware of before you even decide what kind of community program or to join, if you are considering joining, or for you to understand how to grow as a coach and a business owner, for you to be able to get your first few clients. So the first one being network. And I'll go back to my story as a coach. When I started out, I had actually jumped into a new career path, which was I finished school as a mechanical engineer. I wasn't really called a mechanical engineer because here where I am, you need to actually work with a mechanical engineer for 3 years plus and take an exam afterwards. That's the only time you would be considered a professional engineer. So I had just graduated school. I jumped got my first job as a quote unquote engineer or junior engineer or technical person within that sphere of field. And as I started working, I realized that was not, I had been thinking about this before that too, but it became more and more obvious for me. And I tried two different jobs. And there were a couple of things that stood out for me that made me realize that I don't want to be on this path. The first one, I did not like the culture that a lot of these companies that had created. And no matter how much I looked at it, I realized I needed to build my own thing. And I realized that my level of motivation and ambition was very high compared to the opportunities that were offered in the jobs. Now, again, mind you, it was the first couple of jobs in there, but for some reason I got that quickly. And three, I realized that I wanted to build my own path forward and I wanted to be on a learning journey. And I kept running into these roadblocks around that within the frame of a work life. So that pushed me towards learning, okay, what is my thing that I want to build? And that's what pushed me towards going towards becoming a coach partly. And again, I didn't know there was such a thing as a coach when I jumped in, but I knew I wanted to work with people, help people in the realm of awareness. Whether initially I was thinking training and speaking, but then as I went to a conference, I realized coaching might be a really good path because it leveraged some of my skill sets. It also kind of moved me away from some of the things that I really needed to build on very long term that I didn't know how to build at the time, such as if I were to be a trainer or a speaker, I think the skill sets there are a little bit more complex than as a coach, which is a one-on-one skill set. I'm not saying it's easier to be a coach. What I am saying is that it was easier for me to work with people one-on-one than one-to-many because I had to build the skill set to speak, which I learned over time, but then in the beginning it was very hard. So having jumped in as somebody who didn't understand the business world that much, who was new to coaching, I had to learn a bunch of stuff, and I completely underestimated how much I needed to learn. One of the first factor was the network. I didn't have a network, and that's why I shared that part of the story, because I had been in a new field. I didn't even have enough relationships built in my own network for me to reach out to people. And essentially, most programs you go into, they will want you to leverage your network. This is the basic foundations of sales, is that if you haven't tapped into your own network, you shouldn't be looking outside. Why? There's one essential factor, and that's trust. You have a lot more trust in your own network than you do outside of your network. Now, that network could be friends and family. That network could be a bunch of people you've been serving. That could be your colleagues. That could be a bunch of people. Now, if I look back in my journey, and a lot of times coaches ask me, how did you get your first few clients? Well, to be honest, that came from my friend circle. I did have some relationships where I actually walked a friend through my process, and he gave me one of my first referrals. And then I got other referrals after that. And that started building up into other things. But I had to really build my network. So now if I joined a community and they said, you're going to make six-figure in 90 days, they'd be very untruthful, because it would take me a little bit of time, at the least 90 days, to build quite a few leads in there, and maybe another 90 days to build out my sales process, which I'll talk about, which are other factors. But for somebody like me who was starting out, it would at least take me 6 months to 1 year to get my first few clients. And that would be on the realistic side, more realistic side. Now, most coaches are told, no, within 90 days, you should get a consistent set of clients with the offer that you have. I think that's very unrealistic for many reasons, and I'll talk about that. So the first one is your network. So again, that depends. So if you have a better network than I did when I was starting out, like for example, you've been in a field for a long time, you had built a lot of professional relationships, you can leverage those. You can reach out to them, not for the sake of selling your coaching, but at least getting referrals from them, at least getting some connections from them, because as soon as somebody refers somebody to you, the chances of them signing up for you is actually at least double what you would normally have with somebody that you don't know. So just as a side example, so again, it depends on your network. If you're starting out like I did, it might take you a long time. But if you have a really strong network, so for example, one of our clients in our community, he came from another business that he was a part of. And when he came in, he just needed to tweak his sales process, but he had a really good network. So within about 6 months, he already had, he was able to get 5 clients. He just needed to work on refining his sales process and dealing with some of the objections and making sure his offer is good. Once he did that and he had the right amount and he was making clear offers and he had a really good sales process, then he got clients. So within 6 months, he got about 5 clients, starting with 1, 2, and then that moved to 5 paid clients and 2 unpaid clients. And then slowly that's going to move towards 10 paid clients, which is usually a really good starting number for a lot of coaches to go into this almost full time, if not fully full time. At the rate of, and his packages were around $3,000 something for, I think it was 6-month package, if I'm remembering correctly, around that. So that was enough for him to at least have a huge part of his income coming in from there. So again, your network makes a big difference. Think about it right now. How good is your network? Do you have trusted people, especially in the professional world, but also even around you? Do you have really good relationships that would refer you, that would get you connected to organizations or people or individuals of other kinds that you can actually take them through your sales process? And if the terms like sales process doesn't mean anything to you, that should tell you that you're in out. And again, these are not in any particular order. The next one would be your sales skill set. If you don't know what sales process means, that means there's a gap in knowledge in terms of what that is. I didn't know, to be honest, in the beginning, what the hell a sales process was. So then your skill sets as a salesperson. So this is one of those things that's really a sticking point for a lot of coaches, because when they get in, they're like, well, I want to be a coach, not a salesperson. But guess what? Without you being in sales, it's very hard to run a business, because sales creates cash flow. Cash flow is the lifeblood of the business. So you will have to make peace with sales. Now, you don't have to be an unethical salesperson. A lot of people don't like the term sales because they've been exposed to, in their own experience or other people around them, their experience to this idea of car dealerships or secondhand car salesperson, or these weird associations they have with sales that were unethical. But again, you can choose to be an ethical salesperson. Just because you've run into a few salespeople that are not ethical or they don't have the best practices doesn't mean the whole world of sales is a negative thing. In fact, the sales is one of the most lucrative professions in the world, to be honest. You can go check out some of the numbers. I think it might be top 2 or the top 1, if I'm not outside of business. The top 1 or top 2 professions where people make the most amount of money. A lot of people underestimate what, and most of these people are making it because they're really good at sales and they're offering really good products, whether for other people or in their own business. So you have to make peace with sales. That means you need to develop sales skill set. So again, what does it depend on? How fast you can get clients? You need to have skill sets. So if you don't have any skill sets, if you think you have 0 skill sets in sales, that's going to take some time for you to develop those. The skill set to be able to make offers, the skill set to be able to have those in that initial conversation, the skill set to be able to walk them through a sales call, the skill sets to be able to deal with objections. There are a bunch of skill sets within that one umbrella, sales or influence. The umbrella is influence, underneath that the sales, and then underneath that there are multiple other skill sets you need to develop. If you don't have a lot of experience in there, you will need to develop that. That takes time. So again, if somebody's promising to you that you're going to get clients right away and you have no sales background, you're going to struggle. So that's another factor. And I find this always, like, if somebody has a sales background, they have an easier time in their transition to making an offer within their business. It's not the same, by the way. So you could have a sales background and you could be selling other people's products, but once you come into selling your own offer, it actually changes a little bit, because your skin is in the game more and you might be emotionally affected by the fact that you're making, because you have to do the delivery, and your confidence in your product or service will make a big difference, which takes us to the next step, your skill sets as a coach. Now, keep in mind, this was a huge question for me, because I went to school for 5 years or so to study engineering. And then I got certified within a week. And then in my mind, I'm trying to do the math. I'm like, okay, 5 years of schooling to just begin to work as an engineer, and about a week of training as a coach, and I'm ready to build a business. It didn't quite add up. Now, keep in mind, a lot of the schooling system, university, college, all those kind of places, they do dump a bunch of theoretical information. So it might not even take 5 years, but let's say cut that in half. If they change the education system in some ways, it might take you 2 years versus 5 years or 2.5 years. But even then, a week is a huge stretch. It's a huge stretch to say you became a master coach in a week. Yes, your background matters, your life experience matters, but there's still the skill set of taking people through a process that you've been trained on. Coaching is a process. It requires a bunch of skill sets within it for you to hone in and master. The skill set to listen, the skill set to hold space, the skill set to ask better questions, the skill set to challenge, the skill set to go deeper, the skill set to be able to deal with emotions, the skill set to be able to deal with challenging situations in your client's life, the skill set to be able to build a framework. There are lots of them in there. So for any coach to assume, and by the way, I assume that in the beginning too, that they're a master coach as soon as they jump in after a training from a life coaching program, whether it was 3 months or even 6 months, is a mistake. Even if you've gone through a year-long program, a lot of those programs actually have the ones that are year, and you have to actually bring some experience into it. That means you have to coach people through the process. I don't even think that's enough. After a year, you're in a better shape, but you still need feedback for your process. How do I know this? Well, one, the problem is that the coaching field world is not regulated, but if you you can borrow some ideas from the therapy world. For example, in the therapy world, as a therapist and a new therapist, you will need to get feedback from more experienced therapists. You will need to be observed by other therapists for them to give you feedback. You will need to observe them to see how they're doing things. There's a whole learning journey while you're at the job. Now, coaches don't have that, especially if you're working in isolation. You might assume that you have really good skill sets, but you might actually not. And worse off, you're building a business. You're not even, so at least therapists can go work for somebody. You're actually not working for somebody. Now you're offering something of value in the marketplace that you assume that it's valuable, but it might not be as valuable as you think. Now, this doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. Their value is low, because a lot of coaches associate that to their skill set, but it does mean for you to start refining your skill sets. Again, it depends on your skill sets, what kind of clients you're going to get, how much can you sell your program, and you don't get to decide that. Well, the clients part you do it depends on your network, but the part that gets decided by others, which is the marketplace, is the value that you give them. Usually your clients decide the value, not you. And they decide that by voting with their money. So if you have done at least 20, 30 sales calls or taken 20, 30 people through your sales process and you're not getting any conversions, which means nobody's buying your program, there's a problem likely in your skill sets as a coach, or skill sets as a salesperson, or in your sales, you have a challenge with your sales skills, or there's something off about your sales process, which is the next one. Sales process. What is your sales process like? And this is the next point, which is really, really important for you to consider. Now, a lot of times when you go to business coaching programs, even if you hire a business coach or a marketing program you go into, they will give you a sales process. But here's the thing, and this is why I recommend a lot of coaches who are in the mindset, life coaching, transformational coaching space to hire. If you're going to hire a business coach, hire a business coach who's built a life coaching business. Not only don't hire somebody who's a business coach and who's only been in coaching other business owners. Yes, they have some transferable skills that will help them coach you as a business owner. But the problem is, in the beginning stages of your business, the main thing you need to be clear about is your sales process, not even marketing side. A lot of coaches think they need a lot of skill sets in marketing. The main type of marketing you need is putting yourself out there. You can do that online or in person. Yes, you need to learn a few things in there, but not as much as when it comes to sales. So they'll give you a sales process that makes sense in terms of business, but because they don't understand the coaching world, they'll miss crucial steps within there. And those crucial steps can mean selling a program that is 5,000 versus selling a program versus 1,000. So they might be able to help you sell a program that's $1,000 because of their sales process, but If you work with somebody who's built a high-ticket coaching business on the mindset transformational life coaching side, then they might be able to get you to make $5,000, $10,000 or more, depending on your skill sets and network. So again, if you don't have a sales process, and then you likely don't know what you're doing in the process. You're just having conversations with people. You don't know how the nurturing process works. You don't know when to make an offer. You don't know when to follow up. You don't know when to share a testimonial. You don't know how to deal with objections. All that stuff is part of your sales process. And yes, a business coach can help you, but more than likely a community or a coach who has experience in building it will help you. And that's one of the things that make us unique. Coaching Mastery community is unique, that where I'm one of the leadership team members, and there are other coaches who are high performance or life coaches or mindset coaches who've built their own businesses. This is not our primary thing, is not being a business coach. Yes, I'm helping you, mentoring you into building your business, your sales process, but actually to run a profitable and successful high performance coaching business, which is essentially a different framework for life coaching. So that, which means that I've actually used it in my life, and I've actually seen other people use it, and I actually understand how that process works, and I have done it repeatedly, and I can help you build a repeatable process. And that's why we tend to be more successful in helping you build a better business model than somebody who is just a business coach and does not have experience in building a life coaching business. Okay, so again, if you don't have a sales process, you don't know what the hell that is, then you're going to struggle. So again, if you know how a sales process is and you need to just tweak a few things, you will actually definitely go faster. So again, it will depend on how much you understand your sales process. If you're starting from scratch, then you need to give yourself some time to build your sales process. Some part of it will be automated, some part of it will be manual, or in the beginning it will be manual, and then slowly it goes towards automation. Last thing, it's also part of the sales process, but the offer is the key. You might not even know how to structure your offer or how to present your offer. You might have a challenge with sharing how much an offer is, or you might even have a challenge around how much do I offer? And you hear all sorts of weird things. Well, you shouldn't offer less than $300 per session, or $200 per session, or $50 per session. Random numbers that people throw out. Well, it needs to depend on a couple of things. It needs to depend on your skill sets, experience, a bunch of stuff. There are ways to work around that. Again, if your offer is not clear, there's no way, even if you have a really good network, you will not be able to get clients because you're confused, you're not confident about your offer, and you don't know what to offer. So the client does not feel like you're confident in leading them towards a lot of value, and you will always have a challenge in there. So, and I'll summarize this, that how long will it take you to get clients? It will depend on these 5 areas: your network, your skill sets as a salesperson, your sales skill set, your skill sets as a coach, and 4th, your sales process, 5th, your offer within that sales process. It depends on these 5 factors. If you don't know any of this stuff, you need to work on all of these, then it will give yourself at least 1 year. I know it sounds a really long time, but it isn't. 1 year goes by really fast. I've been in this business for a decade. I swear I can remember me struggling a year ago, but it's in reality, it's been more over close to 10 years. But it feels like it's gone by really fast. And a lot of coaches try to shortcut their path, and then they fall into these kind of marketing messages that tell them, oh, within 90 days, you're going to make 6 figures. That's not realistic. That's too good to be true. And if something is too good to be true, pay attention, because there are no shortcuts to mastery. There are things that you can do faster within a community, but there are no shortcuts that most coaches think they are. And the reason why there are a lot of coaches nowadays is because there's a demand in the industry. There are more and more people seeking life coaching, mindset coaching, high performance coaching, things like that. So you see a lot of coaches, and it looks like a saturated market, but it's not. A lot of coaches who come in within a year, they will give up because they don't know what they're doing. Within 2 years, most of them are dropped off. Within 5 years, you will only see successful coaches, which is a very small fraction, probably 10%, if not less. So how can we improve your success? So first of all, if you have struggled with all those 5 key areas, then give yourself at least a year. But if you know some of those areas, then you can actually make a lot of progress within 3 months or 2 months or 1 month, as long as you're part of the right program. Now, we have a paid program for this for coaches where we help them not only build their business skill sets, and one of those key areas is sales in the beginning. And the other one is their skill sets as a coach. No matter how good you think you are as a coach, we actually have a feedback process within our community to help you develop your coaching. And what most coaches do, they jump from one certification to the next certification to the next. And I've met coaches who have like 6, 7 different certifications, and they think that's how they're going to build their skill sets. I can tell you I have 2 different certifications. I have learned other models in the process as well on my own, but 2 official different certifications. The second one, I didn't get it up until 3 years ago. And I've been a coach for a decade. So I've had the same certification close to 6 or 7 years, and I've been able to make build a 6+ figure coaching business with that. And then even the second certification I went to, it's because I was actually already coaching people in that field, in that area. So I decided to increase my skill set there. Now, I don't just randomly go into the next certification just because I need to improve my skill set. All you're doing is increasing the information in your mind. Yes, there are, of course, some nuances there. You might gain some skills and tools that will help you. But for the most part, if you have one certification, you should be able to build a 6-figure coaching business in time. You don't need to keep going for other certifications. The problem is that most business programs don't offer a process for you to improve your skill sets. We do in our community. So if you're interested in learning more about how we can support you on your coaching side, business side, to help you develop a consistent process that gives you consistent set of clients, definitely join our community. I wanted to give you this way of thinking about this so you don't fall into all kinds of traps of marketing programs, hundreds of them out there the messaging looks so incredible because these are great marketers, but when you go into their program, it is not what you expect. You'll run into the same exact things that I'm talking about. You will still run into those problems in our program, but we'll be honest and upfront with you, and we'll tell you clearly. And this is why all our programs are a 1-year commitment. Even if you have a certain amount of experience, we know that it will benefit you to commit to at least a year, because it actually takes that long for you to refine your process or build your sales process to take it to the next level. And our clients speak for the results. You can go to Coaching Mastery Community. You can learn more about us. Definitely book a call with us. You can also join our free Facebook group where we add a lot of value. If you are already in our Facebook group, please book a call with us, because I'd be happy to support you or one of the leadership team members to see where you are and if our program is the right fit. You will still have to apply. We'll still need to go through a process where we need to understand, can we support you? And are you committed? Because there is a commitment in terms of time and energy, and also in terms of resources, in terms of your money. And I guarantee you, without investing in your career path, if you're looking at this as a long-term path, it will go very slow. And in most cases, most coaches give up, and that's where they leave a lot of opportunities and money and time freedom and lots of kinds of freedom on the table. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people who are really good, who could potentially be really good coaches. They give up because they don't understand the business side, or they don't understand how to get feedback for their skill sets as a coach. I hope you're not one of those. And if you're listening to this live in our Facebook group, please share your thoughts. What was your biggest insight? What did you learn from it? Do you have any other kind of experience you want to share with us? I love to look at the comments personally and share some of my thoughts and respond to them personally. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, on our podcast, please share this with other coaches, because I know most coaches are dealing with these challenges. Please share any other topics you'd like us to go into. We've talked about a lot of the topics. We'd love to get some feedback from you, so we talk about topics that you care about. Until my next conversation, hope you have an incredible day. Bye.